Please set the tone for what promises to be a powerful and meaningful day. Please accept our deepest gratitude.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a truly special moment in our program this morning. Our next speaker is, quite simply, a national institution, a man who has dedicated decades of his remarkable life to the safety, health, and well-being of workers across Malaysia. Long before workplace well-being was even a term people used in boardrooms. As chairman and founder of Pertubuhan Ikatan Community Selamat, he has been an unwavering voice for the working people of this nation. And today, we are deeply honored to have him to share his wisdom with all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and welcome Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Thye.
Yang berbahagia Datuk Dr. Syed Hussein Syed Usman, President of the Malaysian Employers Federation, Yang Berusaha Insinyur Ahmad Jailani bin Mansur, DOSH Deputy Director General in charge of Occupational Health, distinguished members of the MEF Council, captains of industry, OSH practitioners, and fellow advocates for a safer Malaysia. Terlebih dahulu saya ingin mengucapkan syabas dan tahniah kepada Malaysian Employers Federation ataupun Persatuan Majikan Malaysia yang dapat menganjurkan satu conference pada hari ini, satu conference yang saya rasa adalah amat penting demi memastikan bahawa kita semua dapat, sama ada para pekerja ataupun pihak majikan, sama-sama dapat wujud dalam satu persekitaran yang lebih selamat dan sihat. Dan ini ialah satu petanda yang amat baik yang saya juga ingin memberikan sokongan penuh kepada pihak penganjur. Dan apa yang saya rasa lebih penting ialah bahawa hakikatnya bahawa kita dapat begitu ramai peserta untuk menghadiri konferensi ini juga merupakan satu bukti bahawa pihak majikan, pihak ahli-ahli MEF dan juga pihak-pihak yang berkepentingan sama-sama dapat memberikan satu semangat yang baru ke arah untuk bukan sahaja memupuk keselamatan dan kesihatan pekerjaan, Tapi yang lebih penting daripada itu, kita juga nak memastikan bahawa keselamatan ini juga akan mengambil kira aspek kesejahteraan mental. Kerana tidak dapat dielakkan bahawa mental ini adalah satu perkara yang kita tidak boleh abaikan. As I always say, there is no health without mental health. Now, I am indeed very amused. I use the word amused, President, when I received a letter of invitation to attend this MEF OSH conference from Datuk Haji Samsudin, who has been my a long-time friend and colleague. We worked together when I was in NIOSH, and he was a member of the board. And I really had the pleasure of sharing my knowledge with him, and he at the same time has also guided me along the way to ensure that my task as NIOS chairman was able to be carried out successfully. Now, when he asked me to be here today to share my words of wisdom to conference participants. Now, there's a saying that as one ages, one gets wiser. But for me, although I have grown older, I'm not certain if I have become more wiser or less. But as far as I'm concerned, occupational safety and health is not determined by whether you are young or you are old, because everyone has a responsibility, from the employers right down to the workforce, have a responsibility to embrace OSH and to make it a way of life. Now, for more than 3 decades, I've had the privilege also of speaking at many OSH conferences across the country and abroad about the importance of safety and health for the workforce as well as the management, and the need to strive towards zero accidents at the workplace. Now, I had campaigned very extensively for safer workplaces in the past, looking at safe scaffoldings for the construction industry, machinery guards, chemical hazards, and strict compliance systems. And I must say that we have made great strides in protecting the physical safety of our workforce. But today I'm here to speak about something different, something we cannot see with our naked eye, something that does not appear on an X-ray, something that leaves no visible scars and yet causes profound harm. Yes, I'm referring to the subject of mental health, a subject which many are reluctant to talk about for fear of being stigmatized. For far too long, mental health in our workplaces has been a silent hazard. But too often, we say nothing about it. We keep silent. We look away because we always say we do not want to be stigmatized. Ladies and gentlemen, that silence which the President of the Thye has spoken, I think the time has come for us to put an end. We must begin by changing one fundamental mindset. Mental health is not a personal issue. It is not a mental problem. And it is certainly not an optional human resource concern. Mental health is the core of occupational safety and health. A workplace cannot be called safe if an employee is suffering from burnout due to unrealistic workloads. It is not safe if an employee is subjected to workplace bullying or harassment. According to the Employment Heroes Wellness at Work report for 2024 and 2022, it showed an alarming burnout rate among Malaysian employees, with 67% of workers experiencing burnout in 2024, a significant jump from 58% in 2022. Now, these are not the soft issues. These are psychosocial risks, and they are just as dangerous as a slippery floor or a faulty machinery. In fact, their impact can be even more devastating because they affect the minds. Just as we recognize the importance of physical health in ensuring that employees are able to perform their duties safely and effectively, we must now acknowledge that mental health is equally, if not more, critical in shaping productivity, decision-making, relationships, and overall organizational success. As I said earlier, mental health challenges are often invisible, yet their impact is profound. They can impair concentration, reduce motivation, increase errors, and ultimately lead to disengagement. In fact, mental health underpins physical health. Chronic stress, for example, is closely linked to serious physical conditions such as heart disease, hypertension, weakened immunity, and sleep disorders. When mental health deteriorates, physical health often follows. Now, we often measure productivity through absenteeism, which is not coming to work, not reporting for duty. But today I want to highlight a more dangerous issue, and that is the presenteeism. Now, this is when employees are physically present at work but mentally absent. They sit at their desks, but their minds are burdened by stress, anxiety, or depression. They cannot focus, they cannot perform, and sometimes they make critical mistakes. This is not just a human issue, ladies and gentlemen. It is an economic issue as well. Presenteeism quietly drains productivity and impact our national good. And if we ignore mental health, we are not only failing our people, we are failing our economy. Employers, therefore, must recognize that creating a safe and supportive psychosocial work environment is not optional. It is a responsibility. This includes, for example, number one, promoting open conversations about mental health without fear of stigma or discrimination. Number two, providing access to mental health resources, counseling, and employee assistance programs. Three, training managers to recognize early signs of mental distress and respond with empathy. Four, ensuring reasonable workloads, work-life balance, and fair treatment at all levels. Lastly, establishing clear policies to address workplace bullying, harassment, and toxic cultures. Ladies and gentlemen, workplaces that prioritize mental health can see higher levels of employee engagement, stronger teamwork, better retention, and improved overall performance. The government must recognize psychosocial risks within the national OSH framework. We need policies that treat psychological safety with the same seriousness as physical safety. And as been mentioned by the President of the Thye just now, to strengthen this mental health care in the workplace, I understand that Section 18B of the Occupational Safety and Health Act, OSHA 1994, stipulates that every employer is required to conduct an occupational safety and health risk assessment and to reduce or eliminate such risk based on the results of the risk assessment, including the risk related to psychosocial hazards. In this regard, the development of the guidelines of psychosocial risk assessment and management at the workplace, or PRISMA 2024, can assist employers in conducting assessments and managing psychosocial risk in the workplace. Now, Section 16 of Occupational Safety and Health Act, OSHA 1994, also places responsibility on employers to establish a policy for occupational safety and health for their employees while at work, including matters related to psychosocial hazards in the workplace. In this connection, this mental health policy is proposed to be harmonized within the occupational safety and health policy at the workplace. The penalty for this offence, as you all are aware, is a fine not exceeding 500,000 ringgit or imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or more. Ladies and gentlemen, although these are the regulations that we have got to bear in mind, but at the same time, we must also be aware that policies and legislations alone are not enough. Real change must begin, and real change can only begin with leadership. A true culture of care must begin. A true culture of care must start from the top. Managers must be trained not only to deliver results, but to understand people, to understand their fellow colleagues. We must create an environment where an employee feels safe to say, I am struggling, without fear, without stigma, and without risking their career. Now the reality is that we can no longer ignore today that we do not just bring our skills to work. We bring our whole selves, including our anxieties, including our depressions, and our psychosocial burdens. These are also brought to the workplace. Therefore, breaking the silence is the theme of this conference today on mental health. Is not just a trend, it is a modern workplace necessity. Today, many organizations proudly report their environmental social governance performance, or ESG performance. But let me ask, how many truly measure the well-being of their employees? How many surveys has actually been conducted on the well-being, the mental well-being, the state of mental health of their employees? And yet, this is something that is very, very important. As Dr. Thye has mentioned, to the employers, let me say, your employees are not just your resources. They are your social capital. True sustainability must include human sustainability. We must also look to our youth. Many young people enter the workforce today, already experiencing burnout. We must equip themselves, we must equip them with mental health literacy early in schools and in universities, so they can enter the professional world with confidence and with resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's uncertain world, we must be able to redefine what success truly means. Success is not just profiting margins. True success, from my point of view, is a workforce that is resilient, a workforce that is productive, and above all, mentally well, and in a position to contribute to the organization and to the nation. Therefore, we must move away from silence. Let us move towards empathy. Let us build workplaces grounded in care, in respect, and understanding. Let us break the silence. Let us make mental health a priority. Let us ensure that every worker in Malaysia feels safe, not only in their body, but also in their minds. Breaking the silence means courage. But more importantly, it requires a commitment, a deep commitment. Commitment from employers to care, from employees to speak up, and from society to normalize mental health conversations. No one should have to suffer in silence. It is time we acknowledge that mental health matters, truly matters, at every workplace, at every level, and for every individual. So finally, my message is together, let us break the silence and build workplaces that truly cares. Thank you.
Thank you from all of us in this room. Truly thank you.